So good afternoon, everyone. I'm responsible for the Inquiring Minds monthly webinar series under the auspices of Toronto Mensa, and I warmly welcome you to this particular version of the series. My name is Kathleen Smith, and it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Christopher Bint is the co-founder of a Canadian charity called Elder Technology Assistance Group, which was funded by the Ontario Trillium Foundation to uncover and overcome the challenges of teaching seniors how to use technology. Chris's goal is to help people feel comfortable and confident with technology. He does that now through his company Tech Coaches, where he's the founder and the chief learning officer. Chris is a huge proponent of lifelong learning, healthy, active living, technological awareness, and effective communication. He has expanded his teaching of technology to include artificial intelligence. He used AI to generate the title for today's webinar, Beyond Fear, Embracing Artificial Intelligence in a World Reshaped by Technology. Welcome, Christopher Bint.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of those Mensans that have taken the afternoon to join us to learn a little bit about one of the things that excites me more than anything in the world, which is artificial intelligence. And I say that as somebody that's been a technology enthusiast for as long as I can remember. So I'm very happy to be here with you all today. Thank you very much, Kathleen, for inviting me in. I'm going to do my very best, everyone, to create as much value for all of the participants as I possibly can. And I know that there is a large spread of knowledge about artificial intelligence that's participating today. So I'm trying to speak to the most number of people, and I'm going to do so with a slide deck as a visual aid. So I hope you don't mind. My face isn't actually a yellow tint. That's actually the yellow tint of the first slide. So let me put that up for you, and we can get ourselves started with the afternoon session. As Kathleen already indicated, we are here to talk about AI in a way that's beyond fear. And I did use ChatGPT to come up with this title and the description of the event. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how I did that. But before I do, I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit more. I love boosting digital literacy. And as Kathleen mentioned, I've been part of organizations that have specialized in helping adults learn about technology. And that gives me about 16 years of experience helping people since the mouse had a ball in it. And we didn't have Facebook as an average person. We only had Facebook as college and university students when I first started teaching people about technology. So it was a very different technological landscape. And all the while, I've seen people not only puzzled by technology, but also a little bit anxious about technology because of the change that comes with it. And that's what we're going to talk about today, my friends, because AI is changing the technology landscape faster than I've personally ever seen in the 16 years that I've been helping people like yourselves use any digital device that you might have in your technology bubble, because we all tend to create our own little technology bubbles that we operate within. Sometimes you're an Android user, sometimes you're an iPad, iPhone user, sometimes you're a Windows user, sometimes you use the latest, greatest thing, and sometimes you wait. But this is not the time to wait, my friends. That's why we're here today, to talk about why this might be a valuable technology for you. So without going into too much detail, because Kathleen already shared a few pieces of information about me. I am a technology educator, but my experience comes from research. I did a couple of years actually working with the Sheridan Elder Research Center at Sheridan College in Oakville. They're now called the Sheridan Center for Elder Research. And while I was there, I was helping study the best practices for helping people understand technology. And when I was finished with that volunteer position, I started a nonprofit charity called Elder Technology Assistance Group, and that led me to Tech Coaches. And I don't want to tell you too much about me. I want to tell you all the things I can about AI, and I have a lot of exciting stuff to share. So I'll kind of blast through this information about myself. But if you're interested at all in technology and boosting your own digital literacy, I encourage you to check out our website. And if you scroll down on that website, you're going to find these white boxes. And if you fill out these white boxes, you can ask technology questions, you can ask questions about our programs, and you can join a mailing list at the bottom that will invite you to free events that we're doing out in the community. They're all virtual, mind you, but we encourage you. If you'd like more information about technology, please tap in to what we call our Tech Talks that are coming up in the future. And you can learn all about that on our website. But I'm not here to talk about tech coaches, although I'm going to have this logo on my shirt for the duration of the day. But needless to say, I'm here really to talk about AI. And this is the schedule for today. I'm going to use up the better part of 90 minutes in my explanation of all of the things that I've planned to help you with today. But I also, as Kathleen mentioned, welcome your questions, your comments, and your observations via the Q&A here in Zoom. So if you wanted to put those in, Kathleen's going to help me navigate all of those as we're going through the event. I'm probably going to wait until closer to the end to field most of those questions. So I hope that I can have your patience when it comes to that idea. In short, we're going to talk about the essence of generative AI, and I'll be sure to define my terms. I wouldn't want you to have these jargon words floating around in your mind without the proper definition of those words. So I'll do my very best to provide that to you. And we'll talk about, after that, some AI in the real world. And I'd like you to see some applications and some innovations that I've witnessed myself, and maybe you can retool those ideas and come up with applications and innovations for yourself to be using some of these technologies. We're going to identify some ethical considerations with regards to AI, and then we're also going to talk about AI and digital citizenship and what that concept means, citizenship as a digital citizen. So all this to say, let's jump down the rabbit hole, everybody, with our minds open and curiosity as our compass. Let's embark on this journey together, shall we? First and foremost, I wanted to ask a general question, but it's a hypothetical question. I don't need you to write anything in the Q&A. Why are we even talking about AI? I feel like we're at the beginning of a technological renaissance, and the world as we know it is very, very quickly starting to change. Just 1 year of artificial intelligence has really shaken up the way that our society in the GTA, we're in Canada, we're in Ontario, I'm talking about our technology bubble, and in our society here in North America, it's really shaking it up. It's natural to feel a mix of excitement, also apprehension. So today we're trying to channel all of that energy so that we can have a constructive exploration of AI. And one of the things that I'm paying attention to are the headlines. I don't know if you're paying attention to headlines like I do, but when I pull out my smartphone on a regular basis, I can open up the Apple News app or the Google News app, and I see the headlines. And some of the headlines include Maclean's magazine. This is the topic of the November issue. The future of the world is now, everybody, and they're pointing towards AI as being that particular tomorrow that they're talking about. Or for instance, earlier in October, Forbes had an article that was the case for mastering AI now and why you absolutely can't wait, because you're at a disadvantage if you don't have the same digital literacy as other people that are capitalizing as, let's call them early adopters. And I am an early adopter, my friends, and I'm trying to encourage you, perhaps you want to be an early adopter as well, because there's an awful lot of benefit, efficiency, value that can come out of this conversation. And I just wanted to point at something. You can see on the screen here, it says, listen to the article. And what I wanted you to realize is, well, that's already an AI. And if I click on that button on my phone, it's going to pop up with a number of different voices that I can listen to. And then a robot will read that entire article out to me. I can outsource reading the article and have the AI technology do so for me. And this is becoming an average, common, basic idea that we're associating with technology today. So let's begin. Let's jump into the concept of the essence of generative AI. So the first thing we should do is define AI, which is artificial intelligence. And I'm going to call that a blend of mathematics and computer science that's also coupled with our endless quest to try and emulate human intelligence in machines. We've been talking about this in a number of different ways throughout the years, but a very popular one that people can typically gravitate to pretty easily is the computers that play chess against humans. Back in 1997, there was something called Deep Blue, and that was the first AI chess robot that was able to beat a world champion, Gary Kasparov, I believe his last name was, but forgive me for butchering that. In any case, that was the first glimpse into this chess AI. And then we ended up with something called AlphaZero, which is a more recent development in the same department of having a computer that can emulate a human mind and then beat all of the chess players that it goes up against. And it's a remarkable thing to think about now that the computers have figured out how to play chess. The humans can't really beat them. And the best computer systems that play chess can definitely beat the people that are playing chess at a very high level. And that's why chess masters don't like playing against AI. It's almost unfair because they can't compute the way that the AI can. And that's just like one perspective that I wanted you to think about. Once the AI figures out how to do something well, it kind of leaves the humans behind. And we have a very difficult time catching back up to that skill level. Chess is a pretty good example of that. Now, because we've defined AI, we should look at as well what this is encompassing. So what does AI encompass? It's about creating systems that not only learn, but they also adapt, and then they can potentially act autonomously. So what I mean by that is the machines that we are creating, they can process information and they can make decisions in such a way that it kind of resembles the way that a human thinks. It's not the same. It's not a human and it's not thinking. It's actually computing a result, but boy, does it seem like it's thinking similar to a human being. But unlike the omnipotent AI often portrayed in science fiction, real-world AI has very specific, well-defined capabilities and limitations. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as we go through the material today. Now, I've already mentioned artificial intelligence, AI. Now I want to zoom in on that concept a little bit and talk about generative AI. Now, this is a type of artificial intelligence that uses a concept called machine learning algorithms to create new and original content like text, images, and video. Imagine teaching a child, as an example, to recognize different fruits by showing them examples. Machine learning works in a similar fashion, but with algorithm and data instead of memory and experiences. We give it equations to work with and certain data sets, and it's able to compute the result that it is we might be looking for as the human. Generative AI generates responses by predicting the most likely words, phrases, or pixels. If we're talking about images and videos, it's based on its training, figuring out logically what's the next word that would make sense, what's the next phrase that would make sense, what's the next pixel that should be beside this one so that it can create a comprehensive image that makes sense to my eyes and yours. This is all stuff that's associated with generative AI. Large language models are a form of machine learning algorithms and a big part of this conversation we're having about generative AI. Remember, that's artificial intelligence that generates things like text, images, and videos. So a large language model is a form of one of these machine learning algorithms, and it's like a neural network, similar to our brains. That's why I have this image up here. I would love it if you could start thinking about AI as a bunch of network connections in a computer system that's able to work with the different parts to come up with solutions, just like you do, sitting there thinking about what it is you've experienced before in the past, what you read previously, what you just heard in that conversation, and now evaluating all of that and making a decision. That's a very similar thing that's happening with these large language models in the neural network that they are. They are absorbing knowledge, and then they're being trained on massive data sets. These data sets encompass diverse text sources. Now, this is complicated, everybody. I realize this, and somebody might ask me the question, what specific information is the AI trained on? We don't really know. That's not a perspective that the users have. That's the perspective that the creators of the AI have. And I'm certain that that's something we should be identifying as an ethical concern that we're looking at in the future. But as it stands, our general understanding of what is this data set, it's websites, books, articles, stuff from the internet. So it could be social networks, it could be videos that have been transcribed, but you name it, if it's online, there's a pretty good chance that one of those AI companies was scraping the data off of the websites and then using it to train their AI large language model. So please just know it's built up of information from the internet, but we don't know specifically what information that is. Maybe we will in the future, but currently we don't really. The training data for a large language model, LLM, serves as its foundational knowledge base. What I mean by that is whatever it's been trained on, that's going to specifically shape how the AI understands and responds to what the user prompts it. So that means that they are putting in a request or they are asking a question. This is a process that we'll refer to as natural language processing. What I'm saying there is we can use our normal vocabulary, our normal conversational way of speaking to get things out of the AI. I can talk to it like it's Kathleen, and it can respond in a similar fashion to a human. And it could actually fool you that it's not a human. It got that good at it just this year. Quite a remarkable thing to have witnessed. This data helps the model learn patterns, context, and the relationships between words and phrases. So just as a human draws on past experiences to interpret new information, large language models reference its vast training to generate relevant responses. That's how it all works. So when you think about this, you can think about me prompting AI and asking for something in return. So in this first example I'm going to put on the screen here, I typed into ChatGPT, which I'll explain in more detail as we go through the afternoon. I asked it to please generate an imaginative rendition of what ChatGPT looks like as a neural network. And in 5 seconds, this image popped up. And this didn't come from anywhere on the internet. I can't find this image anywhere else. This actually belongs to me now, and no one will get the same image coming out of their version of ChatGPT. Even if they wrote exactly the same sentence, it would not generate this image again. It's like a novel thing each time I request it to do one of these prompts, one of these requests. Now, there's a couple of things that I do want to point out. AI is not an all-knowing, all-powerful entity. Instead, it's a tool designed for a specific task. So it may seem amazing what it can do, but if it wasn't trained on how to do it, then it doesn't really do that. So it was trained to figure out what pixel needs to go next to the one beside it so that it could generate an image that looked like that. What it doesn't know is the answer to every question. It's just trained specifically to work a certain way. And if you can figure out how to manipulate what it's doing, then you can get it to create some pretty remarkable things for you. But it doesn't know everything. It only knows what it's been trained on. Now, AI does not think like a human. It might seem like it does, but it's just processing data in a way that's programmed by humans. So just like your computer, just like your tablet, it's told with a computer program with code in the background how to work. And if it doesn't have the appropriate code, then it doesn't know how to do those things. Now, this changes in the future as AI helps us develop future code. That is definitely something that we're talking about doing. But currently, the humans coded the AI. So that's all that the AI knows how to do. It's processing data that the humans previously gave it, and now it's able to do things with that information. Most importantly, AI is not inherently good or evil. It reflects the intentions and the biases of those who created it and trained it. What that means, everybody, is that it's the company who makes the AI that puts the rules and the regulations into it currently. They decided what to use as the training material. They decided how to position what should be okay and what should be disallowed. It's all completely up to the company that's behind creating the technology, just like it's always been. I only get what Apple puts on my iPad and iPhone because Apple designed that. And the way that Microsoft's going, it's the same idea. I only get to do the things on my computer that are enabled by the creators of that computer. And then I can start chiseling away and trying to do things myself as well in the background. But primarily, I've been given this little framework, if you will, to work within. And that framework is not good or evil. It's whatever it was trained on. Now, I'm going to move on from this more abstract conversation, but AI is definitely a powerful technology that can greatly benefit society when it's used responsibly. It's not about machines replacing humans. It's more about machines augmenting human capabilities so that it can help us solve complex problems faster and more efficiently and effectively. Let's talk about some popular AI technologies. And I must say a few words about my skill set. My skills do not come from programming AI. I do not know how to program AI. I am an educator of adults who are interested in technology, and I am a heavy user of AI technologies. I've got well over 1,000 hours since the beginning of 2023 playing around with ChatGPT and Microsoft Bing specifically. So that's what I'm trying to bring to the table for your consideration today. I don't know how to program AI myself. I don't know how to modify and create my own versions of things like ChatGPT. So please just understand that I am more of a user of the technology with lots of experience figuring out how to utilize it. And that's what I would like to share with you today primarily. So if your questions are around the technicalities of how it works, I am not your guy, my friends. I apologize for that. But all this to say, AI chatbots are the technologies that I'd like to highlight this afternoon. And the popular ones that we're going to talk about, there's only two, but there are more. But I'm only going to talk about two. We're going to identify ChatGPT and we're going to identify Bing. ChatGPT is made by a company called OpenAI, and Bing is made by Microsoft, which has been around for a good long time. And we might see that word Bing changed to Copilot in the grand scheme of things because we are very quickly starting to be introduced to Microsoft Copilot on our Windows computers as well as our Edge browser. So all this to say, I'd like to help you figure out the sign up process of ChatGPT to get started so that you feel comfortable doing that when we're offline. I've gone through a click through. So this is what you should anticipate seeing as you try and register for ChatGPT yourself. I must precursor this with, I can't be held accountable for addictions that you get to AI use. I can't be held accountable to that. If you find yourself using AI all the time after today, that's not my fault. You came here on purpose, everyone. So just know this was all your fault learning about this. Now, when I go to Google, you could go to DuckDuckGo. I don't care where you want to do your search engine things, but I just type in ChatGPT and I look for the website that's chat.openai.com. You'll also see another website, OpenAI's primary website. You can bypass that one, but I thought that it was just important to highlight once again, OpenAI is the company that made ChatGPT. So OpenAI is an important company for us to be familiar with currently. Okay, now I'm going to click on the ChatGPT link, and what I'm going to see next is the main sign up or login page. Now it's giving us an example of the type of question that you could ask of this generative AI we call ChatGPT. The example is recommend a dish to bring to a potluck. That, my friends, is the most elementary thing that it does. Just these little, almost nonsense type questions like, can you give me a packing list for a trip that I'm taking to go to Florida? And then it's going to rhyme off flip-flops and shorts and sunglasses and suntan lotion. And that's pretty easy stuff. Can we come up with better, more valuable ways of using this? I guarantee that we can. Let's keep pushing forward. I'm going to click on the sign up button in this example just so that you can see the whole process of getting yourself one of these accounts. After I push sign up, you have to put in your email address and you'll click continue. From that point, it sends you an email that you must click on a link inside that email to verify. There was no point where I set up a password yet. It didn't ask me for any other information. It simply sent me an email, and now I need to go to my inbox for the next step. After I'm in my inbox, this is what I should anticipate seeing, something very similar to this. And it says verify your email address. I simply click this green button in the center of the screen. After I've done that, it will load a page automatically that says, tell us about you, and it wants a first name, a last name, and a birthday. I'll leave it to you to decide what information you're putting in there. My name's Chris Bint. I put in Alan Watts. I don't think that matters, but I'll let you sign up with whatever it is you would like to do with your sign-in information. I always use an alter ego online when I'm signing up for demo accounts. So Alan Watts is my go-to name. If you know who that is, that's wonderful. If not, now you know something to Google when we're done the call. After I push on continue, it's going to ask me for a phone number. Here's the catch, everybody. To be a digital citizen today, you need a cell phone. You need one. You can't even get a ChatGPT account without a cell phone number. And I know this because I read their FAQ, and I'm going to show that to you in a second, but it says only cell phone numbers. The other thing that I wanted you to know is if you try and sign up for a second ChatGPT account using the same phone number, even if you used a different email address, it wouldn't let me sign up for another one. So it seems to be, in my view, one per person. That seems to be how this is all playing out, and that'll stop maybe some malicious people from getting too many AI accounts that they're now trying to wreak havoc with. We'll talk about that in a little while. But all that to say, when I clicked on this phone verification guide, just so that I could understand the phone situation better, it said, Do you take landline, voice over IP, or something maybe like Google Voice? And the answer is we do not support the use of landlines, voice over IP, or anything else. It's cell phone, everybody, smartphones. So get your smartphones out. And if you don't have one, maybe now's the time. Yeah, with the AI revolution coming, maybe now's the time. Let me show you what the main interface of ChatGPT looks like. It's not flashy. On the left side of the screen, we have a gray bar, and these are all of the different conversations or chats that I have had with ChatGPT in the past. And if I were to scroll down in this list, it remembers every conversation I have had. If the conversations were short, you can actually go back to one that you had several months ago and pick up where you left off. It's like the elephant that never forgets. As long as there wasn't too much detail in that previous conversation, it might just be able to pick up where you left off. So I do that kind of thing regularly. I'll leave that for your experimentation to figure out what works best for you. When I want to create a new chat, I click this button at the very top, and this is the entire tool right here. You type inside that box, and whatever you type, that's what it's going to do for you. Now, there's a couple of ideas that I needed to put in front of you before I jump down this rabbit hole. ChatGPT is free, but only the account that they call GPT 3.5. If I'm to make a comparison between GPT 3.5, the free one, and GPT-4, which is the latest, greatest, I would say that GPT 3.5 is like a first-year college student. So if you were to ask a first-year college student to do something for you, it's pretty much the quality that ChatGPT 3.5 gives you. But if you're a paying subscriber like I am, and I have been for the entire year, I started paying OpenAI in February so that I could use the latest, greatest thing. It's as if the individual, the person I'm talking to, which is actually AI, has an MBA. It's like they're super educated and very capable of doing just about anything that a professional could do. Now, when I say professional, what I mean is I treat ChatGPT like it's my incredibly coachable and capable assistant. And it's always available to help me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, except when the website's not working, everybody, because that definitely can happen as well. And I hope you didn't leave your homework assignment or your important thing to a point where now you can't get access to ChatGPT because maybe too many people are using it, because that has happened to me a number of times in the last year. Another side note, currently, it seems difficult to sign up for the paid subscription because it's become so popular. Just yesterday, I heard from somebody and I received a screenshot on my phone that said, cannot sign up for a paid subscription for ChatGPT Plus currently right now. So get in line, get yourself one of those subscriptions if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. But let me show you the difference here. When I'm using the free one, they say it's our fastest model, great for most everyday tasks. So that's fine for an average user at home. And I'm going to show you some examples today where you can use this and get some good value out of it. But if you're leaning towards professional use, if you're leaning towards what's this thing actually capable of doing, then you need to be using GPT-4. And I wouldn't expect to be able to get a professional grade answer out of the free one. Maybe you could, but I don't lean that direction. I quickly go towards the higher quality technology, GPT-4. Now, what's that going to do for me? It's going to have a more capable model that's great for tasks requiring creativity and advanced reasoning. Is that what you would like? Would you like this thing to be good at being creative and advanced reasoning? That's what I like it to be like. That's why I'm an advocate for this. What I'm noticing with the AI, which I've always noticed with technology, everyone, is that there is a bit of a digital divide, and the good one is reserved for people that are paying for it, and the free one won't be as good as the one that people are paying for on purpose. That will just be a consistent fixture. There will always be some sort of AI that we can all freely use, but the best one, the good one, the professional grade one, you'll always have to pay for that. I'm pretty certain of it from my experiences using these tools thus far. That brings us back to this being the primary interface. Once again, you can see all that I have to do is type in a request into this box below, and I can push this little arrow and it's going to activate my request. Now, before I talk any more about ChatGPT, I want to point you at another AI that we're going to be exploring today as well. It's called Bing Chat. And you can sign in to your Microsoft account if you have an Outlook.com email address or a Live.com email address or a Hotmail.com email address. All of these count as a Microsoft account. And now what you can do is you can go to Bing.com and you can sign in, and then you can click on this button in the top, probably left corner. Is this the left corner? I don't know, but click on that chat bubble, and that's going to bring up the Bing Chat. And Bing Chat, similar to ChatGPT, simply has a box at the bottom of the screen that I'm able to type into whatever it is I'd like the AI to do for me. Let's talk about that specific task, typing into these boxes. What's everybody trying to get good at? That. It's called prompt engineering. What you type into that box is called a prompt. And prompt engineering would be the art and science of effectively communicating with an AI system. This is what I've spent about 1,000+ hours doing since the beginning of the year. And a lot of people have never even tried it before. And I find that as you learn how to talk to it effectively, you begin to pick up some tips and tricks yourself. And I encourage you to watch some YouTube videos. That's a great way of figuring out how to get better at prompt engineering. But I will be giving you some tips today that I've already figured out. I'm trying to create shortcuts for you, everybody. So please hang on tight while we're together this afternoon. What do I have to do with my prompt? Tell the AI exactly what I want it to do, and include any specific details that I think it's going to need so that it can finish the task successfully. I have to articulate my request as clear as possible and as completely as possible. If you prompt ChatGPT poorly, then you will get a garbage answer. If you take time, 20 minutes, to write really good instructions for the AI to follow, you could get a golden response coming out of that. But if it's garbage in, then it's going to be garbage out. So if you spend your time, spend it on prompt engineering, everybody, because the better you get good, the better you get rather at prompt engineering, the more solid the response will be from the AI in general. Now, let's give ChatGPT an example on screen so that you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is a very elementary example, but I feel like it explains the context of what we're trying to do well. So bear with me as I go through trying to get a present for my brother, okay? Here's what I typed as my prompt into ChatGPT. And remember, I'm showing you the free one here. You can see that up here at the top of the screen. I must admit, this is a little bit old in terms of the screenshot. AI moves so fast that almost every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm having new things pop up on my ChatGPT constantly. So I left the old screenshot here for you. It doesn't quite look like this. I'll point out directly what it's changed when I get to the new screenshot. But what it did is exactly what I expect in the newer version of it as well. So I'm using GPT 3.5, the free one, so you could do this too. And you show up there and you type into this box, I want to buy my brother a memorable birthday gift. He is turning 35 and enjoys the great outdoors, classic 80s and 90s pop culture, and spending time with his 3 kids. I do not want to get him a trip or send him on an adventure. My budget is $200. Please provide a few recommendations. So you can see what I've done here. I've asked it very specifically to consider a few characteristics of my brother. I told it what I didn't want to be buying him as well. So I did what I could to clearly and completely articulate the request. And in 5 seconds, this response pops up in front of me. Poof. It says, certainly, here are a few memorable birthday gifts for your brother based on interests within your $200 budget. And then it talks about outdoor camping gear, and it talks about a customized family portrait. And then I scroll down and it's got personal outdoor adventure map, a subscription box, a classic vinyl record, and it's explaining why each one of these gift ideas might be good for my brother and a little bit of extra detail about it so that I can think about what it's saying. I'm the human. I have to keep thinking about what did it just say back? Is that a good idea or is that a bad idea? Is that correct information or is that not correct information? It's for my review. I still need to be a critical thinking human to make sure that I'm getting all of the right information and the good amount of value out of this tool that I can. Now, if I keep scrolling down, it'll tell me more information, and then I can write into the box a follow-up question. After I already received that answer, I say, can you recommend a few camping gear items that I should consider? And then what does it do? In like 5 seconds, it pops up with a list of about 10 different items that I could buy. It starts mentioning brands of these items that I could consider purchasing. So you can see I could get a camping tent. Maybe I could get one from REI or Coleman or MSR. Now I know some brands that I didn't know before. Do you understand how that's valuable already? I didn't have to figure out anything about tents. It started telling me about popular brands, and now I can move forward with that information while I'm doing my research. I can start looking up Coleman tents, MSR tents, whatever the case might be. And as I scroll down, it's giving me more and more recommendations. And then finally, I get to the bottom, and without changing the chat window, without starting a new conversation, I follow up with a completely different request. I say, with the information I provided, can you please write a funny birthday poem for my brother? And in 5 seconds, a very suitable, I mean, I can't write a poem in 5 seconds, so I don't know how quickly you can write a poem, but it said, very quickly, in the great outdoors, he finds his delight underneath the stars or in broad daylight with 3 wild kids and a heart so bold, turning 35. He's just getting started, I'm told. And it continues to go through this elementary example. Maybe you've heard of this kind of thing before. Write me a song in the style of Bob Dylan. Write me a poem that only has words that start with the letter E in it, something like that. It can do all of this, but it's not super valuable, but it's a good example. Now, if you're thinking about rules of thumb for prompting, so if you want to get good at prompt engineering, you can do certain things in your prompts to get better responses. And there's more than this, but this is an intro webinar, everybody. I can't jump all the way down the rabbit hole with you today, but I can give you these 4 pointers that I feel like will be very beneficial. First, you want to tell ChatGPT the role that you want it to play and what the scenario is. So if I want it to be something else, I can tell it, you're that thing, and now I want you to help me based on the fact that you're that thing. Did you want it to be a mechanic? Did you want it to be a technology guru? Did you want it to be a naturopathic doctor? You can tell it to be whatever you want, and then it can help you from that perspective. Would you believe whatever it said? No, my friends, it's just for your review. You have to remain critical. You have to carefully assess the information and maybe look things up in an additional source so that you can figure out what information you like and what information you're going to discern. But it's a very useful tool in that regards. You're going to then provide a clear objective. You want to specify any background information that should be accounted for in the response. So you have to think about, in the first example, the role of ChatGPT was helping me come up with a birthday present for my brother. So that was the role in the scenario. It didn't need to be anything special to be able to do that. It can just start helping me right out of the gate. What was the objective? I gave it a bunch of information about my brother. He's got a bunch of kids. He likes the great outdoors. He likes 80s and 90s pop culture. So I gave it all this background information. And then I gave it examples of what I like or what I don't like. So I didn't give it examples of what I liked in the previous one, but I did tell it I don't want to buy him a trip and I don't want to send him on any kind of an adventure. So I'm outlining the things that I do and I don't want it to do, because if you knew that, you should have told it that. Otherwise, it won't know any of your preferences and tendencies, and it'll just start giving you whatever it is it thought you wanted without getting that extra information. So always give it whatever information you think would be most helpful to get that task completed properly. Then, last but not least, if you wanted the writing, the response to come out with a certain tone of voice, you can actually tell it, please write your response in an informative way or an instructional way or a supportive way, a professional way, whatever you need it to do, and it will listen to you. You can also say, please make sure your response will make sense to a new user or a beginner. And then it'll start to use more simplistic language because it thinks you're a beginner or it thinks you're a new user. So these are the kinds of things that I would be thinking about when I'm trying to craft a prompt to get something out of ChatGPT that's worth value. This isn't a one and done process, my friends. And I have an example to show you specifically today so that you understand that. But an iterative prompt refinement approach is what I employ. I start with a simple prompt. I see how the result comes back from ChatGPT. If it was good, I can move on. If it didn't give me the response I wanted, I rewrite the prompt with some extra things. Maybe I remove some things because I realize, oh, it's misinterpreting my request because I added a few extra words that didn't help. And if I said different words, maybe those words would help better. I often delete the old chat, start a new chat, and then give it the new version of the prompt. So I'm going to, with the simple prompt, I'm going to identify the incorrect or undesired answers, and then I'm going to modify the prompt so that ChatGPT moves more towards the relevant response that I'm after. And I keep repeating this process until I get a response that comes out at the quality or with the content in it that I would like it to have. That's all of the background that you need to be a comfortable and confident generative AI user. You just need to know that there's a ChatGPT tool out there that you can use, or there's a Microsoft Bing tool out there that you can use. Both are free to experiment with. You also have to know about prompt engineering and just telling the AI what it is you would like it to do as clearly and completely as you can possibly articulate. That's it. You don't need a deep understanding of large language models at all. You don't need to know much about any of the buzzwords that I talked about. You just need to get good at delegating your request to your new digital assistant. That's the trick. Let's jump down that rabbit hole together and talk about AI in the real world, applications and innovations. First thing that I'll point out are the personal and professional uses of AI in daily life. General communications. Do you write emails? Do you promote events? Do you need to write a description for something because you're going to sell it on Facebook Marketplace? whatever the case might be, general communication is easily done with very accessible language using ChatGPT or Bing for that matter. Content generation. Do you want the AI to find some material to write about for your social media post or your marketing copy or a blog article? Do you have a cooking blog and you are looking at a blank screen thinking, what am I going to write for my blog this month? And you could actually ask ChatGPT, please tell me 20 novel and exciting things that I could write about on my food-oriented blog. And then it would write 20 ideas down for you. And then you could say, please draft an outline of what that blog would talk about and highlight the key points that I will write a paragraph about for each one. And it will generate the outline of the blog for you. So all you do is choose one of the topics that it came up with, and then you told it, now build out the outline, and now you can even ask it to write the paragraph that would go with that element of the outline. Content generation makes me think about how all books after the year 2023 happened will probably have been run through AI, and some sort of computer-generated text is going to make it into most publications. That's what people are talking about with magazines, with newspapers, with all things where the written word pops up. People have to choose to not use AI at this point because it's so good at communicating our ideas that now we can write whatever we want with it. Some people have in fact written entire books and then made them available on Amazon. I'm not saying that they're good books. What I'm saying is it can do the whole thing from beginning to end, and we've only had this technology available 1 year. This is like the first year of iPhone. Think about how far we've come with that smartphone technology. This is just year number 1 of this AI technology for the average person. This has been around for multiple years, but for me, the average guy, it's 1 year deep and it's already blowing my mind every day. It can do research for me. It can do research for you. It can summarize a PDF file. It can summarize an entire Wikipedia article right on the internet for you. Whatever it is you want it to do, just ask it and it can do that thing. Idea generation and problem solving. Are you trying to come up with some sort of an idea like for a gift? Or are you trying to come up with a grant application idea so that you can get some funding for the nonprofit that you volunteer for? Are you trying to solve a problem with your computer? You can ask AI to help with all of these things. It's all in the prompt engineering that we're going to explore a little bit more soon enough. Last but not least, proposal preparation or anything like proposal preparation, like filling out forms that need you to explain yourself in a few sentences or in a few paragraphs. We can have AI do that kind of thing for us as well. Moving on from there, let's get into the exciting stuff, the stuff that really highlights value, okay? AI Showcase. I wanted to talk about writing vibrant program descriptions and email marketing as my first example. As Kathleen already pointed out, I was using this opportunity to meet with you all to employ ChatGPT as much as I could. So right out of the gate, when Kathleen and I started to have a conversation over email, I began to implement ChatGPT into the conversation as well. So let me walk you down the path that I went down. And I told Kathleen all of this right as we met so that she knew, oh, she's kind of talking to Chris, and then she's also talking to Chris's digital assistant all in one go. Here's how it all began. I opened up ChatGPT and oh, my apologies. I'm getting to that example in a minute. I'm going to show you a different one first. The first one is, how do you draft an email without you having to do it? You want to explain something in good detail, but you don't want to take the time to write the email. It could take you 20 minutes to do that. Here's the prompt that I wrote. Please draft an email that invites our mailing list subscribers to visit our Volunteer Day event. That will be the primary recruitment day for all volunteer opportunities available this fall-winter season at the Older Adults Center. So I'm pretending that I'm volunteering at the Senior Center, and I need to write this invitation to our entire mailing list. In 3 seconds after I type that out, I get an entire email written, and it's completely relevant to what it is that I'm talking about. Dear subscriber name, we hope this message finds you well. At your organization name, we are excited to extend a special invitation to you, our valued mailing list subscriber. We are hosting a Volunteer Day event. I'm going to pause right there and say, if somebody writes you an email from a company, did a human ever write that again? Like, once they know how to do this, that sounds just like a professional email that I would get from any kind of organization that I might be on their mailing list. And I think that lots of people are interested in just getting that correspondence out as quick as possible. And they're not really interested in spending all kinds of time writing that email. They don't get any value out of spending time writing that email if it's already done a good job in the AI. So let's continue to read the message that it wrote. It says, why are you going to volunteer with us? And it made up all these things that maybe I wanted to say in the email. Don't forget, I was supposed to read this very carefully after it gave it to me and decide what it is I wanted it to include and not include. So as I keep scrolling down, I get to the bottom. I like it. It's pretty good. I end up saying thank you because I'm always nice to the AI just in case that matters later on, and it prefers the nice people. So I say please and thank you whenever I can. And I say, please remove the section called why volunteer with us. Also, please make the rest of the email message significantly shorter. And then in 5 seconds, it completely rewrites the email, removes the part that I didn't like, and everything is ready to go. I can scroll down to the bottom, and if I had more things that I would like it to do, think about this. How long have I been working on this task? A minute. I've been working on this for only 1 minute. I said, please write an email that talks about Volunteer Day. Then I said, take out this section that you provided me. Then I said, that's a better length. Please rewrite the message and include a call to action in bolded text and insert emojis to add some personality. And in 5 seconds, the entire thing is rewritten once again. It's got a bunch of emojis inserted into it. It also has that call to action, RSVP by to secure your spot. Click here, and it's giving me all the placeholders that I can be using for that in my email. Remarkable. I've now done this entire email campaign in about 3 minutes. I can now copy and paste that, and this was done with ChatGPT, the free one, which is 3.5. Now I'm going to point us at a different tool. I already mentioned this tool, Microsoft Bing. Now, once again, this is free for you to use, and you can go to the bing.com, sign in with your Microsoft account, and then you're able to type in something very similar right down there into the same box. I just copied and pasted the same exact prompt because I wanted to show you it's going to pop up with an example email for me in this AI technology as well. So you don't need to use ChatGPT to get that kind of a feature. You could also use Bing. And what you might have noticed is there was a button up top. I could ask it to be more creative, be more balanced, or be more precise. This is a characteristic that Bing has. I would play with these buttons if I was you. Ask it to rewrite it with more creativity, then ask it to write it being more precise, and see if you like anything in one versus the other. You could copy and paste from each one of the examples it gives you back, make a brand new email, submit that one, and say, do you have any feedback on this email that I just rewrote using all of the suggestions that you gave me, Bing AI? You see how I use this as an assistant? It's like a helper that will always do your bidding, and it's always available, and it doesn't mind doing it a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, unlike a human, which would get very annoyed if you kept coming back 5 times to revise it once again, revise it a third time, fourth time. So after I've done that, I think that's a pretty good example of how you could use 2 different AI tools for free, just in this general communication idea. Now, let's talk about the Mensa example. When I first met Kathleen, it was via email. We set up a Zoom meeting so that we could talk about what it is we could do on a training about AI. This is what the new ChatGPT interface looks like. Instead of it saying 3.5 and 4 in the center, it says it off to the left-hand side. That's a huge difference, I guess, but that's primarily the difference, my friend. So just know that's why it doesn't say it in the middle. It says it off to the left. And if I click on the little arrow, it will give me ChatGPT 3.5 as an option. Now, because I was meeting with Mensa, I didn't want to use the free one. I wanted to use the best one I could. So I'm using my paid for subscription, which costs me about $30 Canadian every month. I think it's like 20 bucks US, 30 bucks Canadian per month. So I'm not advocating for you to get it. I'm just saying I use that when I'm professionally using ChatGPT for tasks. This is what I wrote to ChatGPT to prepare me for my call with Kathleen. I said, hello, I'm known for giving public presentations about the basics of AI and ChatGPT for average users and older adults. We've done so via libraries and nonprofit organizations. We were found by the organization Mensa. They have asked me for a video call to discuss giving an AI-oriented talk to a group of Mensans. I received the following request. I hope you can see what I've done. I said to it, this is who I am. I'm this guy that's known for talking about AI. I've done so in this capacity and this capacity. This organization called Mensa reached out to me, and now they want to have an interview call so that I can maybe help them with an AI talk. Then I quoted what Kathleen wrote in her email, and I gave it that background information. Remember the prompt composition framework where I said, give it any background information you think it needs so that it can help you get a good response. So I was very specific and I said, this is what they said. This is exactly the words that Kathleen said. I put them in quotation marks. Then I said, please generate a list of insightful and intriguing questions I can ask at my first meeting with the Mensa contact, who will organize the virtual presentation with me. And in 5 seconds, everybody, a list that was very useful for me popped up automatically. I didn't have to do anything except review the list. And I started saying, I like this question. I'm not going to ask this question. I do think this is a relevant idea. I'm not going to ask anything about this. And the human in me had to step back in again and decide what information here is good for my situation and what's not. That's always the human's responsibility. Don't skip reading. It's very important that you review everything that it says so that you can be the one that makes decisions. It's not a human like you. It can't make good calls, but you can. So don't forget to read it over, and that's when you're going to get the most amount of value. Don't do the copy and paste thing and assume that whatever it said was right. That would be a mistake. Now, if I keep scrolling down, I actually kept the conversation going. And I said to it, knowing the nature of the virtual presentation I'll be doing for the Mensa participants, we need to market the event to the audience. It needs to appeal to the group as relevant and enticing to ensure that we stimulate their interest. Please draft your best 5 webinar titles that we can consider for the event. And in 5 seconds, everybody, how long would it take you to come up with 5 different titles for me to think about to put on the label of this event? It would take time. This took 5 seconds to pop up a list of different examples that I can choose from. I got to the end of that list and I followed up with it with normal conversational language. Normal conversational language, but it's clear and it's as complete as I can articulate it. But it's just standard, normal conversational language. I said, "You're on the right track." What would I say to my assistant? "You're on the right track. This seems like a good direction you're going. Can you please provide 5 more options? This time, take into account the value of AI for digital citizens moving forward and the importance of not resisting technological development." And you can see it started popping up with even better titles for me to think about because I gave it more information. After I read the first ones, I was like, I want it to do something a little bit more. So I added that secondary sentence in there about taking into account the value that AI creates for digital citizens moving forward and the importance of not resisting technological development. And there it is, my friends. Beyond Fear, Embracing AI in a World Reshaped by Technology. It was number 4 on the list. And I went down to my box at the bottom of the screen and I said, "Thanks. I like the title, Beyond Fear." And then I said, "The next task I need your help with is drafting a short and equally as enticing webinar description that will articulate the overall direction of the event's content and highlight the value that participants attending will gain. It should highlight key topics we'll explore and should be somewhat clever and witty." You see that? That's that tone of voice that I wanted it to have. So now it's going to try a little bit to be clever and witty, but what did I follow up with? Please don't overdo it. I don't want it to have too many like weird things in there. It's a little too poetic. That sounds a little bit weird. Why would you be using that kind of vocabulary here, Chris? So I kind of geared it towards don't overdo it, my friend. And what did it say? Absolutely. Here's a concise yet captivating description. And then it gave me a paragraph to use. Now, if I wanted to, and I'm just trying to show you how I can continuously work with this assistant to refine and to get the result that I want. I like it. Once again, you've got the right idea. I'd like to see one additional draft. Can you please do the task again and try to add even more insight into the value of the webinar content? And then it did it again in 5 seconds. How long did it take me to prepare the title and the description, everybody? I'm about 2 minutes into this task, but I wrote a title and a paragraph, and I was able to pass that on to Kathleen very quickly, and it didn't need modification. And Kathleen was pretty surprised at how creative and kind of good that it actually came out with AI being the primary writer of all of this content. Now, the choice of words, the order of the words that I use in my prompts, and the instructions that I'm giving and the examples that I'm providing, they're all affecting the outcome that I'm getting in the response. So please just know that the language you use, the way you say it, it all matters. So we really have to get good at telling the AI what we want specifically. That's very important. And what I find is adults have a competitive advantage because we've been articulating our thoughts, our desires, our requests to people for a long time. But kids, they haven't. So they're not as good at figuring out, like, how can I say this in a clear, articulate way that's taking everything into account? And then they miss some stuff because of experience. And I'm just sort of saying, if you're an adult, maybe you have a competitive advantage and you'll already be pretty good at doing this prompt engineering thing. If I wanted to ask it to keep going, I could. I said to it, I don't like that one as much. Please disregard my previous request about adding even more insight into the value and simply try the task again. And then it disregards that extra request, writes the paragraph again, and then I edited it. Then I took it and I started adding my own flavor, a couple of sentences for myself, and then I gave it back and I said, Thanks kindly. I took the work you did and crafted a new version of the description. Please provide feedback that will make improvements to our invitation to participants. And then I pasted the newest one that I've edited in there. And in 5 seconds, it reviewed it and popped up with all sorts of recommendations that I could consider to make it stronger. I have to think about, do I want to do number 1? Do I want to do number 3? I do not know. You have to review everything. But boy, was that a shortcut to getting the task complete. I was probably 3 to 5 minutes into the whole task instead of sitting there for a better part of an hour, coming up with a good title and writing a paragraph description myself. 3 to 5 minutes versus an hour. How many times in a day can we do that? That's the question. How many times in the day can we have AI supplement the work that I'm doing? Let's jump into problem solving and idea generation with an AI assistant. I have more examples to show you. I feel like this is the best way that you can see how you've not seen AI used before. That's what I'm trying to do, is make sure you see like how you could use this, not what you see on television and might have read in an article or two. How might you start to retool some of these prompts so that you can use them for your purposes? Here's the next example. Good morning. I'd like you to act like an expert printer and scanner technician with a long and successful career in customer service and help desk support. I hope you understand what I just did. I told it, you're a professional IT person that specializes in printers and scanners. I made it become that simply by writing that line in. I realize that sounds almost crazy, but that's how it works. That's why you'll see a lot of prompts when you start to look them up now. You'll see, I want you to act like, at the beginning of a lot of people's prompts, because you're trying to get it to act like a business consultant, a financial advisor, a fitness professional, a cook or a chef, whatever the case might be. I have to ask it to be that, and then it will try and embody that persona. Now that I've set it up, I say the printer in my office has a problem and I need your assistance fixing it. So I'm trying to fix my own computer problems at home, everybody. That's exactly what you could do with AI as well. My follow-up paragraph is equally as important. I said, the printer we have is a brother image class, yada, yada model. I'll let you insert your HP or your whatever printer that you might have into there. The scanner built into the unit stopped working and now displays the error code, this, when we attempt to scan over the office network or via USB cable. Now I submit that, and it in 5 seconds says, good morning, I'm happy to be your printer and scanner assistant. I understand how frustrating that can be. Let's work through this together. And then it starts listing things I can try to fix my printer and scanner situation. And I have to read it. I have to review it. Does that seem like the right thing to do? Can I try it? Is everything lining up? But I have to think about it. It might not be the correct instruction, but boy, is it nice to get some instructions at 2 o'clock in the morning if my printer's not working. And now I've got ChatGPT or Bing Chat in my pocket, able to give me some pointers on things that I wasn't able to try by myself. This is a very, very powerful way of setting yourself up for success in this regards. Now, once again, this was the free version of ChatGPT, so you could go off and do this sort of thing on your own. I got to the end of its recommendations and I said, thank you. Can you please walk me through the process step by step to accomplish number 4, which is driver reinstallation? And step by step is another thing that you can add into your prompt to make the AI slow down and do a better job. Isn't that interesting? When you tell it, go step by step, you essentially told it to slow down and make sure you don't make any mistakes so that we can get this done properly. I'm just throwing ideas at you that I've picked up over my experiences writing prompts. So I'll let whatever sticks with you stick, and you can discern the parts that you'd like to not use. After I put that in there, it popped up with, first you need to do this, then you need to do this, then you need to do this. And I'm very capable. It even gave me a link to the website that I need to click on to get to the driver that I need to download to try and fix this problem. Remarkable use case, fixing your own IT problems. Sorry, I should have mentioned that I'm using a Mac laptop. You see how I just let it tell me the whole wrong information? I got the explanation from Windows. Then I just followed up with, sorry, I should have told you I was on a Mac conversationally, right? Just like I would have said to the IT guy, sorry, I should have mentioned I'm on a Mac computer. And then it said, not a problem. In 5 seconds, it regenerated the instructions, but for a Mac computer. Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Let's switch over to Bing. Okay, because I want you to be able to use both of these tools if you'd like to. Where's the real power? ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT 4. Even though you might know this already, but Microsoft Bing uses GPT-4. It uses GPT-4. That same technology is available in Bing Chat. However, I do not get the quality of responses out of Bing Chat that I get out of using the real deal paid subscription of ChatGPT. Hands down, they don't compare with one another, in my opinion. But it's still very helpful when it comes to free tools so that you can try and figure some stuff out on your own. So here I am on Microsoft Bing, and I write into the box at the bottom, please generate a list of grants and other funding opportunities open to nonprofit organizations working with older adults in Ontario, Canada. And in a matter of seconds, it generated a bunch of different places that I can investigate to try and get some funding for this nonprofit that I'm volunteering at. And if I wanted more, I just ask for more. I click down in that box again and I say, can you please list a few more? And it does all the Googling for me. That's how Bing Chat works. It's doing the internet search on your behalf, and then it summarizes what it found in a matter of seconds. So gone are the days of I have to read the first search result, then I go to the second website, then I go to the third, and I might spend 15 minutes reading all these different websites that I found on Google. Instead, I just ask the question of Bing Chat, and it reads the internet for me and then starts putting what it found back in front of me again. So here's another list that is different than the first list of 4 that it had provided. Very useful tool. I hope that you can find a way of implementing this into whatever it is you're doing out there. Let's jump back into the world of ChatGPT. I want you to see the extent that you can use this for free. There's a number of different ways that you could retool this example. Are you living in a condo and you have a condo board, and the condo board needs to develop a new standard operating procedure for all of the members of the condominium to follow? So you need help drafting an SOP. You could do that with ChatGPT. It would draft the entire SOP for your review in a matter of seconds. Why would you sit there for the whole day trying to come up with what is in an SOP? How many SOPs are you going to read? How many things do you need to do to get that task done manually versus ask AI to take care of most of the legwork for you? It's not a condominium example. Let's go back into this nonprofit example. Our Older Adult Center is responsible for a new community garden initiative that will be run primarily by volunteers. Can you please suggest a template and some foundational ideas that we can use to establish a volunteer handbook specifically for this project. And then remember, I click that green button in the box at the bottom and it generates the answer in seconds. And when I say seconds, I mean everything here in seconds. And I keep scrolling down in seconds. All of this popped up, all the different sections of the handbook. We've got the welcome letter from the CEO drafted already. We've got the roles and responsibilities of the volunteers drafted already. And then I can follow up with, can you please provide me with a complete and more comprehensive list of volunteer roles and responsibilities for this project? And what it gave me, I couldn't even come up with. I couldn't even come up with it. Everybody, it said, first you could be a gardener. Then it gave 5 bullet points. That would be the roles and responsibilities of the gardener. Then it did it for garden bed coordinator. It came up with compost manager. There's an event coordinator, a garden educator, a garden maintenance team. There's a harvest coordinator. And it came up with the important points to identify for each one of those in seconds. So you have this entire document that last year could have taken a week. This could have taken a week for a couple of people to share the responsibility of coming up with all of this content. In seconds, this was done now. Remarkable technology. I'm going to get to the bottom of this example because it came up with so many things in the roles and responsibilities that I just wanted to get to the bottom and say, it's got a community outreach ambassador even listed in there, something that I wouldn't have even thought of for the project, but now that I saw it, that's a good idea, ChatGPT. I think I do want to include that in my volunteer handbook. Let's switch to another example. Let's go back to the Bing browser, okay? Actually, I'm not going to do this example because I found that it didn't work very well. My apologies. I'm going to switch back to ChatGPT, but I'm going to do it on a tablet because I wanted you to know there's a ChatGPT app that you could install on any tablet or any smartphone. It's not Apple or Android specific. Both platforms are going to have this app available. This is what ChatGPT looks like in that regards. This one is wild, because we've just recently added a feature where ChatGPT can see. This is when the game changes again, my friends, and I've only had access to this for a handful of weeks. So I'm still trying to figure out creative, helpful ways that I can use this. And I found a lot of them, but I don't have time for a lot of them. I have time for one of them with you today. So here's what my prompt started as. Hello, my friend, I would like you to act like an expert car mechanic, vehicle reviewer, and honest dealer. You see, I can ask it to be 3 things at once. It could be more than that. I just chose 3 for this particular example, but I want it to be a car mechanic. I want it to be a vehicle reviewer, like somebody that grades cars and their quality, and then an honest dealer, somebody that's selling cars. With that persona, now I would like you to help me decide if I should buy a used vehicle or not. Are you ready? And then it said, absolutely, I'm ready to assist you in making an informed decision. And it said that in a second. And then I said, the vehicle is a Honda CR-V. It's from the year 2010. It has this many kilometers on it. I would like to show you a photo of under the hood so that I can ask you some questions. Is that okay? And it said, absolutely, you can share a photo with me. And I'm going to zoom in on the screen here because I realize being the app, this is a lot smaller. This is an icon for taking a picture with my device. This is the icon for uploading a photo that I already took on my device. And this is a folder that will actually allow me, if I didn't want to use a picture, I could upload a PDF file. Think about that, everybody. I could upload a PDF file with 20 pages on it. And then I could start to talk to ChatGPT about what it says in that file, like it's the author of the file. That's a crazy idea that I don't have an example of for you today, but I did want to show you we're already doing that with the technology as well. So that volunteer handbook that I just crafted, I make a PDF file of that, and then I can upload it. And now the volunteers can talk to ChatGPT about whatever it says in that PDF file. Crazy technology we have here. Let me zoom back out, and I'm going to show you the image that I gave to it. It was under the hood. And under the hood, it looked like an old car, exactly as I would expect. And then what did ChatGPT say? Based on the photo you've provided, here are some observations and potential concerns. And then it gave me 6 really insightful things that it noticed. And then it gave me concerns that it noticed. And you can really tell what it's doing, because in the next set of concerns, it says the serpentine belt condition is not clearly visible from this angle. I didn't even know there was a serpentine belt, everybody. It's the one that told me about serpentine belts, and it told me I can't see it in this picture, so maybe I could go and take another picture so that I could give it back to ChatGPT to say, is this a better picture? Can you see the serpentine belt now? And it could respond accordingly in that regards. But it can clearly see what's going on, because it says the engine bay appears clear, the coolant reservoir seems to be at the proper level, all the caps and covers appear to be in the right spot, the battery terminals look clean, and then it continues with a list of concerns. I needed to point out one more feature for you, everybody. When I zoom in the bottom right corner, there's a set of headphones. On the app, you can talk and listen to ChatGPT with your mouth and your ears alone. So if you want to not have to type in any prompts and you don't want to have to read the responses, then all you have to do is initiate that headphone that I have not seen on my computer. It's only on the mobile apps. And when I do, it pops up like this, and I can begin to initiate using the chat with voice feature that, once again, it's brand new. This stuff is moving at lightning speed. It used to take a year for something to change. Think about iPhone as a decent example. How many iPhones come out in a year? Like 1. How many updates to ChatGPT happened in the first year? I can't even tell you. 5, 6, something like that. And exponentially, those changes will continue to happen more as we go down the AI pathway. So I'll leave that for your experimentation. I realize we're already at an hour and a half. I've got a couple more things that I'd like to share, so I'm going to keep going, but I do recognize that if anybody's got to leave, you're very welcome to do so. But there's much more to talk about here. So let's look at communicating effectively and compassionately using ChatGPT. One example I did was an email, and this was the email right here. Please provide me with feedback and a revised draft of the following email reply. I'm just asking it to rewrite my email. Hey, Eamon, I got your email about the late training instructor at the pottery session yesterday. We will connect with them before the next session to ask that they arrive on time in the future. Thanks. Pretty quick, pretty, detached. I'm not trying very hard to write a nice message to this person. I'm just getting it done. Then I gave that to ChatGPT, and it said, this is what you could say instead. I hope this message finds you well. Thank you for bringing up the issue regarding the late training instructor at the pottery session yesterday. We appreciate your feedback, and we take punctuality seriously. We will promptly address this matter by contacting the instructor and discussing the importance of arriving on time for future sessions. And on. It has definitely improved what it is it wanted to be communicating in that message. Another example for your consideration. I'm about to send the following memo to a team at my older adult center. Please provide me a numbered list of feedback points you have, and also generate a rewritten memo that ensures my team will receive the message well. And then I said the least amount that I could. I said, "Dear team, I'm writing to inform you that we are unable to purchase the technology and venue upgrades that the seniors visiting our center constantly request. The reason why we cannot afford the upgrades is because we have no money. Additionally, the technology and venue upgrades that the seniors request are not critical for their well-being or safety. Sorry." And then ChatGPT said that I lacked empathy, I lacked clarity, I had a negative tone, I lacked appreciation, and it gives me all this feedback about how I'm speaking to the people receiving this email, and then it completely rewrites it in a very decent way. Don't copy and paste it. Be sure that you reread it. Make sure you remove anything you don't want to say and maybe add a sentence or two that you do want to say. But it did a way better job trying to help me communicate effectively to the team that I was reaching out to with regards to this email. And if I wanted to, I can say, "Can you please make your revision much shorter?" And then in a second, it just rewrites the entire thing, but keeps all of that niceness in there and then makes it that much more economic for communication purposes, because nobody likes reading these long-winded emails. So you can see how it can just fix all of that kind of communication in writing. Now, I have a few more segments to go through. It's not an example. It's an ethical consideration highlight. I just wanted to point at a couple of key things that are on my radar screen when I'm thinking about AI, and I'm hoping that perhaps you can put some mind power on these ideas as well. The first, which I don't have an answer for, please remember, I don't know how to proceed into the future successfully with AI. I just have ideas about what it is we should maybe be thinking about or paying attention to. And I ask you perhaps for your feedback, questions, comments, and observations about these ethical ideas as well. The first thing I'm thinking about is privacy and data security. I would not, if I was you, tell ChatGPT or any other AI technology private secret information about you, because whenever I'm using ChatGPT, when I'm using the free one or when I'm using Bing, I don't have the ability to make my information secret, which means they're going to use whatever I type into the text box as additional training for the AI moving forward. So I don't want to put intimate details about Christopher Bint in there, because then I just taught it intimate details about Christopher Bint. You have to imagine the different data points that you might not want AI to know about. You don't want it to know about your financial situation. You don't necessarily want it to know about your health. You don't want it to know about your private ideas. So I'm just thinking about, how is the data being collected? How is the data being protected once it's being collected? And is it all being ethically collected? And am I consenting to giving that information away? Because if you think about what ChatGPT and other AI is getting in trouble for in the headlines, it seems to be, well, it can give a summary of a book completely because it read the book. And it can sound like an author because it's read all of the books that author wrote. Or somebody can, now their style of writing can be mimicked, and now as a writer they don't have a job anymore because Hollywood's going to instead have an AI write in the style of this person, and now it seems like it was that person that wrote it the whole time. And there's just this constant idea of privacy and our data security that I'm paying very close attention to. Something else is the biases and the fairness that's built in to the AI itself. Now, by the way, I asked ChatGPT through a technology built into the paid for version. It's called DALL-E, DALLE, DALL-E. And I'm able to say, please generate an image of different flavored ice cream with a solid color background behind them. And that's what I did here. And this is not an image that exists anywhere else, my friends. These aren't real ice cream cones. This never happened anywhere. And this belongs to me now. And that's never happened before. In previous years, I'd have to hire an artist to create this for me. And now I don't need an artist for anything. I can just, whatever I can imagine, I can just ask for it to create that image, and it can pop up after some iterations of that prompt. I can often get that image that I wanted. Now, what I'm talking about with regards to the bias is an AI system learns from the data. And if the data is biased, then what the AI decides to give in responses will also be biased. So we have to be very careful about how we train the AI so that it's not executing any bias or unfairness to any particular group of users. By addressing these biases, it's going to require us to design it carefully. We're going to need a diverse data set. We can't just have one data set because that can have biases in it. So we need all the flavors of ice cream to be played into this next training so that we have all the flavors perspectives. Likewise, we need to continuously monitor this. Both humans and AI will be paying attention to tracking these biases in the future because we don't want them to get their way in there. Something else for your consideration, the societal impact and automation of things. As we continue to automate with AI, it can lead to significant efficiencies. As I've demonstrated with you today, I can turn an hour-long task into 3 minutes, and I can do that many times a day, and that can save a ton of time and a ton of money. And now it also raises concerns about job displacement. And how are we going to supplement all of the work that we no longer need to do as humans? That's a very important thing that we're all thinking about when it comes to the AI landscape. It's crucial to consider how we can leverage AI to enhance human work rather than replace it, and also how to support those whose jobs are affected by automation, because it's definitely going to affect jobs, definitely. So with that said, we as the people with jobs need to know how to use AI so that we have the relevant skills needed for significant efficiencies and cost savings for the different organizations that we're out there working for. It's my responsibility to keep up with technology so I have the professional skills that people need today as modern digital citizens. And we'll talk about that for only a moment in just a few moments. The role of regulation and governance. That's the last piece that I'm going to put on the table when it comes to the ethics and the considerations that we're putting towards that. How do we create frameworks that ensure AI is used ethically and responsibly? This involves things that are not in place right now. Perhaps it's government intervention and regulation. Perhaps it's some sort of a global agreement that we're going to approach AI in a particular way so that we can take care of all of the humans on Earth in the appropriate manner. Because if we don't regulate and we don't govern, then maybe things aren't taken care of in the right way. And then we can deal with the aftermath of that sort of thing. So we definitely have regulation and governance on the horizon when it comes to AI. It's starting to roll out around the world more on a local scale, but I also feel like there's going to be a global solution to getting some sort of a regulation put in place so that AI is going to be safe and usable by the most number of humans on the planet. Last but not least, the final part of our conversation was just poking at AI and digital citizenship shaping tomorrow's community. I'll leave this paragraph up there, and then I have a few points off to the side here, and then we're getting ready for your questions. And I see some of them popping up in the Q&A, so I'm almost coming back to you soon here, Kathleen. But digital citizenship traditionally encompasses responsible and ethical behavior with regards to technology use. But now we need to understand how AI is working. As a digital person, I need to know how AI is working, how it's trained, how I can use it, what data they are using when I'm using these different tools, what impacts on my privacy and security these tools have, what personal rights I have. If I'm an artist, do I have to do something so that the AI can't get access to my art? Or am I allowed to use art that AI created to make money? Like, there's all these different things that we have to think about here. And being a digital citizen is now going to make us must be in tune with AI. It's part of the technology landscape moving forward. Ideas in this department: AI's role in information consumption and media literacy. Privacy and data security awareness is something else that's just like a basic thing that we all need to know. Kids need to learn about these things in school so that they can have their finger on the pulse of the best practices. Ethical implications, my apologies, and societal engagement. Skills for the AI future that people need to be thinking about. AI accessibility and inclusivity is also another topic that would fit into being a normal digital citizen. We should have a pretty firm understanding of some of those buckets of ideas, if you will. So Kathleen, I appreciate your patience with me getting a little bit over time when it comes to our 90 minutes. But all that said, I wanted to thank you again for inviting me out today, and I'm very happy to spend some time answering some questions and taking some comments or observations as well. Maybe I will stop the share for this component and I'll come back on camera.
Well, that was amazing, Chris. Thank you very much. I'll share some of the questions. Peter Jedicke is saying, is ChatGPT able to incorporate its answers from a few months ago into a new chat on the same topic?
The answer to that is no. Anytime I click the new chat button, it's a blank slate. So it's always starting with zero information. However, if we were to do an advanced discussion about ChatGPT, then there are things you can do as a paying customer to sort of instill particular prompts into the beginning of any chat that you were starting. So you could give it like certain sentences to consider by default all the time, and then it would always execute on those at 0.0. So when you're starting up, it would always take those into account, but it cannot refer to another chat that you've had previously.
Okay. The same person is asking, I've had trouble getting ChatGPT 3.5 to provide me with the sources it uses. I want specific scholarly references, and it often fabricates them or makes an excuse. Can I get a better answer? Does version 4 do it better?
I would say that ChatGPT, the free one's not going to give you those sources. And I would say that ChatGPT 4 will, however, it's still capable of making stuff up. And that's why we can never put our guard down when it comes to whatever the AI said to us. I would not think that you're going to get any good answers out of GPT 3.5, though. It's too limited in what it's able to do. But you might get a better response when using ChatGPT 4. If you wanted something that automatically gives you its resources that it's pulling from, then Bing Chat will always provide you links at the bottom of the chat you're having on where it got that information from. I'm also going to say one more website, perplexity.ai, Perplexity. And that's a website that always states its sources as well. So I think with those two tools, maybe you could supersede using ChatGPT in that way.
Thank you. Dave Smith says, awesome presentation, Chris. What can I use to create images or animations? I want to create a continuing cartoon character that I can animate. Best AI tool for voice generations? What platform did you use for your presentation? It's very professional. What stock photo site do you prefer? Thanks and come back, Dave.
Good input there. Good question. So I'm an Adobe stock photograph user. So I only use free photos from that website. But if you sign up for an account, You can have 3 photos every day. I've been collecting them for years and years, so I have lots and lots of these stock photos saved up from my free account, but it's Adobe Stock Images is the website that I'm using. I don't use a tool personally for audio, so I don't have a good tool that I can recommend there. And when it comes to a cartoon character, I think the tool you're interested in is Midjourney. And when you prompt, you are also prompting on what you want your character to look like. And then once you've got that character looking the right way, then you can upload that character's image to the AI and say, I need it to be this character, but doing this. So once you've figured out what you want that character to be, save that file. Now, when you're talking to Midjourney again in the future, which by the way, that is not a free tool, you're going to be paying for using Midjourney. Anything that's going to be working the way you really want it to, like you want a consistent cartoon character, well, they're not going to make that for free. You're going to end up paying for one of these services that then starts to generate more consistent images for people using it for that purpose. So I would recommend Midjourney and then uploading one of the characters that you managed to pull out yourself with a well-crafted prompt.
And I'll just comment that that may lead into intellectual property issues. You know, who owns the cartoon character that you get?
That is one of those things that's up in the air right now, because in short, what the AI companies are saying is go ahead and use it for anything you want. And anything created by AI as an image or a video, that belongs to me now. And I can start using it in my PowerPoints, in my videos on YouTube, and just about anything that I'm creating. So will that be the same in the future? I have no idea, but currently it seems to be working like that.
Okay. Dan Borden has a related comment. Any information that you put into ChatGPT is now the property of ChatGPT. Our company has told us never to put in anything that is intellectual property protected.
That is absolutely true. That's what I was saying about the data privacy situation. So anything that would be top secret for a company, they really wouldn't want you to be putting that into ChatGPT, because remember, OpenAI is using my input as a user as training material on future versions of ChatGPT. So I reiterate what I said before, you do not want to be sharing any kind of personal or intellectual property oriented information. Lots and lots of companies have rules like that out there, where you're not allowed to put those PDF files into ChatGPT. You're not allowed to say any of your secret recipe ingredients for whatever it is you're doing, because then it does become part of the training model potentially in the future. And then there could be negative repercussions for that. So I'm totally following that same wavelength. I wouldn't be putting anything that's supposed to be top secret into ChatGPT, because it's no longer a secret once you've handed it over to OpenAI.
Thank you. Melanie Tate, could AI generate a message that is grammatically and syntactically correct in a non-English language?
The answer is yes. However, you're only going to talk to it in English. So currently it was created in English. So when I say, can you please translate the sentence, may I please have a large black coffee, in Japanese, it will translate that sentence into Japanese, but I cannot continue a conversation with it in any language other than English right now.
Okay, I have a related question myself in that one, and that is, can you get ChatGPT to generate an answer that is, supposing I'm a native German speaker and English is my second language. So I have, my natural grammar has, German in it that sound like mistakes in English, when I have a German accent. So can it generate something that sounds like it came from me with my awkward German English?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Kathleen. What you would need to do is you would need to give it examples of your writing style. So you're going to say, I want you to be my personal note maker. here are 3 examples of notes that I wrote before. Now I would like you to write a new note about a different topic using the style, vocabulary, and let's say awkward grammar that I've included in the examples, and then it would mimic you in that way, Kathleen. But if you give it that background detail about how you write, it will mimic that writing style, but it needs those examples to work from.
Interesting. Randy Beaton has just signed off from Switzerland, and she says, thank you very much for this interesting talk. She had to go. Okay, now this one I haven't read yet. Sasha Cullen. How can we increase awareness among the general public that ChatGPT is pattern matching, not thinking, and that it can't distinguish what is true from what is untrue? Even humans have a hard time doing this. Example, the proton's diameter was established, published in journals, and then in textbooks. It was wrong. A decade or more later, a new measurement found a very different value, which is now accepted as true. But most schools still use old textbooks that teach us as truth, the old value. Truth changes in science, and it's usually just an opinion, but people want certainty and will trust AI more than they should, and that can be dangerous and stifling to new knowledge. How can we counter that now in these early days of AI?
I think what we're talking about there is the humans need to be very good critical thinkers, and we need to discern information. And I recognize that truth is a moving target when it comes to science, because as we invent new tools that can assess something at a higher level of detail, we can learn that something else is in fact true, and then we need to update our information. And I'll just point at ChatGPT and Bing and other AI technologies. They're plugging into the internet, and they are gathering information that's put on the internet. And currently we use the internet to do research, to spread communication, to do all of the things, but the internet is rich with the truth and with lies. And I think that all technology is going to have that as an element to it. So it all falls on the critical human thinking about it, making sure that something's not popping up in that response that seems wrong or seems like it's being advertised as the truth with posture, when in reality it might be false. So AI often says things very confidently, and only if I knew that it was correct would I not look it up. But if it said something that I wasn't familiar with, I don't assume that it's correct, and I would have to look for follow-up resources. And that's what I think we can do currently. Be critical.
That's really important. And I'll make an aside here that I recently attended an online webinar with 2 of the world's experts on AI. And they're meeting with the leaders of their countries these days, like currently, asking for regulation and asking for new policies regarding AI. The analogy was made in terms of the importance now of AI to the proliferation of nuclear weapons, that we need treaties, we need regulations, we need policies on the same scale. And we need to deal with the possibilities of things like disinformation. They also talked actually about chat, or not chat, but AI in general, creating military weapons. And so we need, that's now becoming a possibility. I'm not sure if it's actually there yet, but it's coming. So we need treaties now. And the now is the operative word that they kept coming back with. So it was quite a dramatic presentation from these experts.
There's lots to be said about what will happen in the near future to control AI. And I think we've just had the first year of it, and now we're recognizing after a year that it's very influential on our society. And I think now's about the time when everybody's starting to think about it in a meaningful way. But I do proceed with a healthy fear of technology always. And that's just something that I've always maintained as a technology user and educator. I would rather you have a healthy fear of technology than a blissful idea that nothing can go wrong. We definitely need to focus on the notion that bad things can happen when technology is used incorrectly, and start there, because that's going to not be undoable once we've crossed a certain threshold. So we really need to proceed with our, I often say, with our dukes up. We have to be playing defense all the time with a healthy fear of technology, trying to get ready for what's coming down the pipeline.
Alexander Gluskin says, excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Liz Blight, can ChatGPT breach sources that are password protected?
That's a good question. There was a time when an element of it could. I have not been able to do anything of the sort myself, and my opinion about what it's saying on the internet about that is that it stopped that most of the time, if not all of the time. So there was a part of ChatGPT's existence where it could supersede a paywall for a magazine or an online publication, as an example. So it could start to read through articles that were supposed to be behind a fee, but because I was going through ChatGPT and it was able to get past that fee, it could give me information from those articles without me having to be a paying customer. And there was many weeks where they actually had to disable that entire part of ChatGPT so that they could figure out how to stop it from doing that. And now they've opened it back up again, and it doesn't seem to be doing what it was once doing. So the short answer is no, it can't get past password protected things. And when we learn that it can, we kind of take it back into the programming stage and start to stop it from doing that.
Okay, I had received an email question earlier from Melanie Tate. She wanted to know if AI is considered to be intelligent.
I would say not yet. I think the term we're looking for is AGI, artificial general intelligence. And when we start talking about artificial general intelligence instead of artificial intelligence, now we're talking about something that's essentially better than humans. So when the conversation changes from AI to AGI, now we're talking about something that's seemingly intelligent. Right now, it's still just a computer program that's been very specifically coded to do what it's doing. But when it hits AGI, it's kind of coding itself. There's like an element of that you can think about, where like it doesn't need these silly humans anymore. They don't know enough to keep up. So now the AGI starts acting intelligent, and that's exactly what that means. AGI is like the equivalent intelligence of a human, if not more intelligence than a human.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll make an aside there as well.
Please.
That from this webinar, I'm not speaking myself now. I'm telling you, passing on what the experts were saying, and that is that we are not yet at the stage where AI is going to take over, but it's coming at the point now where it may not just be theory anymore. It could actually, develop so that AI could take over. So this is part of the reason why we need regulations and so on the scale that we have for nuclear weapons. But this same expert was saying that that AI, it does consider AI to be intelligent. It's using a different criterion. It's, if you can, the criterion it uses is, if you give an example to somebody, like to a jury, and you give an example of a real person's creation, can it tell which was from the human and which was from the AI? And the jury probably can't tell the difference, or they might mistake the AI generated content for content that was generated by the human. Also, they have examples where the AI can make really nuanced distinctions in understanding. So, for instance, it can tell the difference between what you mean when you say something faded or something changed. It knows the difference. So, using those criteria, it says that AI is intelligent. But that's not the same as saying that it's going to do, take over from us and actually think, which is what you're saying. Fair enough. The next one is Haripriya Radhakrishnan. Thank you for this enlightening presentation and the valuable insights you gave on the potential of AI. Peter Jedicke, you mentioned perplexity.ai. Is that connected to Claude?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question. I can find out in a heartbeat, and I'll do a live demo of that because I think it's relevant. I have my Edge browser open on my desktop computer here, and I click on this button in the top right corner underneath the X. This is now initiating Copilot, and Copilot is Bing Chat. You can see right there, powered with Bing Chat. And now I'm going to write in this box down here, is perplexity.ai powered by Anthropic. Anthropic is another AI company that directly competes with ChatGPT. Their AI tool is called Claude, however you want to say it. Yes, Perplexity AI is powered by Anthropic's AI. So the answer to that question is yes. So it's not a ChatGPT technology that we're using with Perplexity. It's a Claude or Anthropic technology.
Pretty amazing. Thank you for that, Chris. Okay, Liz Blight, wonderful yet somewhat troubling presentation. Thank you very much, Chris. Dave Smith, Chris, can you please speak to Alpha Zero?
Alpha Zero is a game playing AI. So Alpha Zero plays chess. I think it can play other things, but I'm not an expert on Alpha Zero. But in short, it is like a chess playing machine, and it trains itself by trying every single potential move and playing the game over and over and over with itself so many times that it's seen every combination of every move that's possible, and it never forgets what it's seen before. And that's why it has an advantage over the humans, because the humans, we have to try way harder than that to keep track of what's possible in the game of chess. And then there's games that are even more advanced than that. And it's able to play those games at a very high level as well, where there's like an infinite number of moves, but it's still able to outperform the humans. So I can't say too much about Alpha Zero, but I do know that it's an AI that's been specifically designed to play these very complex, reason-rich games, and it beats the humans hands down most of the time, if not all of the time.
Thank you. Eleanor McCann. I've learned so much about the art of the possible in this webinar that I really feel able to start using generative AI in a meaningful way. Thank you so much. Now, this next one I haven't had a chance to read. Dan Borden. We use AI where I work to speed up web chats. We let AI do internet searches for agents and retrieve relevant question responses really fast, faster than the agent could do it on their own. Okay. And Melanie Bell, I haven't read this one either. Just a moment, I have to take one of these out so that I can see the next one. Melanie Bell, thank you for a great presentation. I learned a lot. What are your thoughts on emergent properties in AI, things it can do and come up with that are unexpected, and instances such as Facebook's AI that started communicating in their own code?
Well, I can't speak to the Facebook story, but I do think that things are happening with AI right now that's making what we just talked about for the last couple of hours seemingly maybe old information come like a year from now. And I do believe that, for starters, ChatGPT teaches itself things that the coders never put into the program. And that's already happening. So there is these emergent intelligent properties that are popping up. And in short, there's buzz right now that there might be even more of that going on right now than has been publicly made available. If you've heard anything in the news over the last couple of weeks, the CEO of OpenAI was fired. He was picked up by Microsoft and then brought back to OpenAI. And the narrative behind why did all of that happen, there's some rumors involved here, but one of the major ones is somebody saw something that was quite concerning pop up in the way that AI was able to perform a task. We don't know what that task was. And these researchers went to the board and they said, we are worried about this because it's got these things happening that we're not really in control of. And I do think that that's an element of AI. And that's exactly why Kathleen is echoing what the experts were talking about regarding regulation and governance, because once the genie's out of the bottle, it doesn't go back in. And if we roll this out, and I've been teaching technology for almost 20 years, and what I've seen time and time again is we never have had a plan. We always just react to whatever happens with technology. So the iPhone didn't have a plan, and then everybody ended up on a smartphone, and then some people could do things and some people couldn't because they had access or they didn't have access. Or social media, we had no plan on social media, and now we could maybe make an argument that it's not good for you and it's very addictive, and maybe it shares too much misinformation and we didn't really get control of it when we should have, and now we've got a bit of a problem with it. If you think about drones, remote control drones with high definition cameras in it, well, we just let people start to fly around high definition cameras for a while, and then they could go outside your balcony in the 20th floor of your building and they could like see inside, but you don't own the airspace outside of your balcony, so like they legitimately can be out there. So now you have to shut the curtains even though you've never had to do that before, because you don't know who's looking in your window with that drone there. And it's just another example of like, we put it out and then we react to whatever happens. And I don't think we're doing any different now. I've still been watching it for a year, and there's no regulation, there's no governance, things are happening, and it's just sort of happening, and we're responding to it as it goes.
Okay, thank you. I have a quick question of my own.
Please.
If I belong to a piano playing group, and if I record myself playing a little piece by Mozart, and I want a friend of mine in the piano playing group to give me an evaluation. But instead, I want AI to do it instead of my friend to do it. Can AI listen to the recording and give me a credible evaluation of my playing?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't think yet. I don't know a tool that I could do that with. I don't think that there's an audio input for like evaluating music theory. So I'll leave that there, Kathleen. I don't think so, not yet. If it's out there, it's not on my radar screen. It doesn't mean it's not out there, but I've not used anything like that yet.
Okay, what if I write an essay and I ask AI to evaluate it as though they were my instructor in university?
Oh, it would absolutely do that. I have another example that might be more relevant to professionals. You could write an answer to a grant proposal, and then you could give ChatGPT the background on who the funder is. You could give it background on what the priorities for granted projects should include, and then you could give it your answer to the question on the grant application. And then with all of that information, you could say, based on the funder, what the funder's priorities are, and what the question is, does my answer as best as I can? And if not, provide me a numbered list of things that I could add to improve the relevance of my answer. And then when I get that information, I would rewrite it and then I would give it back again. And I would say, now I changed it. Can you check with the funder's priorities and the question and make sure that my answer is answering it to the best of our ability? You and me, AI, is this the best we can do to answer this question? And I must say that I've gone through this exercise multiple times and I've won. So it does do a very good job rewriting the thing. And I feel like I like that you brought up universities, because universities right now have not been very nice to AI, and they tried to make AI seem like a dirty thing that students shouldn't touch, and you were cheating if you did it. And in reality, the universities need to figure out how that technology fits into what they're doing. And that's going to take a lot of work that they're probably going to use AI to figure out, because they have to not write essays anymore. They have to do interviews, and they have to do entire projects where multiple parts were generated by AI. But that's what you were going to do in the real world. So that's what the education should also reflect, right? So in my view, you are in no way plagiarizing or copying anything if you used AI to generate an answer to a question, because that answer didn't come from anywhere on the internet. What we're talking about is not plagiarism. No one wrote those sentences ever like that before to answer that question. What you've done is you outsourced getting the answer, and that's what the universities don't like, because they wanted us to come up with the answer. But unfortunately, we invented a language calculator that thinks reasonably. So if I was in university today, everybody, I wouldn't do any of my assignments. I would have AI do every single thing, because when I get to the workplace, that's probably what my employer is going to want me to do as well. They're going to want me to be as efficient as possible, save time, save money, and maybe make money and help more people. That's what they're going to want to do. So AI in the business world will definitely be embraced. Academia, they're trying to hang on to like the old way of doing things, and I don't think it's going to work out at all in their favor.
Thank you. That reminds me of a very short, funny, true story. I had a statistics professor who was a specialist in zoology. And he said that he went into his exam, this was in Europe somewhere, and the professor opened a drawer where there was a bone. And the professor said, "Tell me everything about that animal and its context and how old the bone is." And that's a very interesting alternative to setting exams and essays and so on that everybody has
Right.
to, right? And I don't know if you could, he wouldn't have had AI in his pocket to answer the question for him, so he'd have to answer it live. But then the professor has to come up with a brand new bone or a brand new question for the next person, because they talk to each other out in the hall.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
Right, so I liked that story. Okay, Stephen Clodman, as an observation. When I was a research scientist in meteorology until the 90s, studying weather forecasting, I noted that advanced statistical concepts were being studied for the purpose. For example, the scientist in the office next to mine was using neural net methods. These things can be seen as precursors to AI. And I haven't read this one. Peter Jedicke, the last thing we want is a plan. That's how the Soviet Union started, with a plan. Yes, Peter Jedicke, you need to get yourself onto the council that's going to be writing the regulations. Okay, Dave Smith. My group of companies is using AI to model school and university curricula. We have an advisory group of doctors and scientists to ensure we have rigor. If anyone is interested in more info, Kathleen, is there a way to connect? Yes, you have my email address. I'd like to talk to you. Okay, Sasha Cullen. Misinformation is really only what the people with social power don't like or don't want to think is true. I think Mensa should be a force defending AI against the censoring of misinformation. Okay, interesting comment. Thank you, Sasha. We could follow up by email if you'd like. Joanne Monday, many thanks, very interesting. Okay, Przemysław Pawlak from Poland is here. It's still academic dishonesty. He's commenting on the previous post. Okay, and again, Przemysław again. Because you are presenting as the fruit of your toil, something that has been provided to you by an external source, it's like hiring a ghost writer. Yes, this is a complex. Yeah. Here I am answering for you, Chris. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think that these are all very insightful questions, and I couldn't agree more. But now we legitimize the ghostwriter for everybody. It's like getting angry at calculators for accountants. Except now, because everyone can use this, it seems different. But to me, it seems the same. It seems like it's just the calculator, and then it seems like it's a computer because people thought computers were going to create a big problem because it was going to make certain things happen and certain things not happen anymore. And I think we've legitimized this idea of we don't have to write emails anymore. I mean, I'm getting very ready, my friends, for Microsoft and for Google and for anybody that's a big tech company to make it so that my AI reads my email and then it responds to your email, and I never had to do it. Kathleen could email me, my AI could read the email, have access to my calendar, respond to Kathleen about the meeting that we're going to have. Then Kathleen's AI responds to my AI, and then our calendars get a calendar invite added. And then Kathleen and I get a notification on the phone that says, oh, you have a meeting next week on Thursday now, because you have an assistant across everything computerized, and it can make sense of complex ideas. And this freaks people out. That's why we don't like it, because it freaks people out. There doesn't seem to be a limitation on how we can use it, and that's startling. So I'm following along with this idea of the ghostwriter. I think that academia has to change because of this new technology, and we just have to accommodate to the fact that we're not going to go back. We're not going to eliminate AI now. Now the world has that moving forward, like smartphones and the internet. So everything changes accordingly. I heard it put a certain way online. When the whole world used horse and buggy, it took 10 years. I don't know where that comes from, but it took 10 years to eliminate the industry that supported the horse and buggy when the car came onto the market. Everybody that made their livelihood dealing with horse and buggy, now they can't do that anymore. And we all just left them, and they all had to retool their skills and do different things. And it's kind of the same with this AI idea.
I just want to add a comment that's kind of related, and that is that I talked to someone in the States named Shirley Turkle. She's an expert on empathy. And she was saying, actually, I read her book, is what I did. And then I had a brief conversation with her. She is saying that you know, we're becoming more technological, and it's taking the empathy out of our discourse. And in a related vein, I think that if you read an AI, a response that's generated by AI, and it's not the same tone as the person, that, you know, you're not used to hearing that tone come from that person. I think that it creates a bit of a divide there, like, you know, so you have to get used to that and get used to the fact that, okay, you're being answered by something that was assisted by AI. Okay.
Absolutely. I actually work with a couple of organizations that work with newcomers as staff members. So some people are English as a third and fourth language sometimes. And pre-AI, an anxiety for these professionals was corresponding professionally in an email, because they would have so much stress around being able to communicate effectively in writing. And then they'd be asking their colleagues to read over emails before they send them. And they're taking way longer than any email should ever take to write in that regards. And now their voice changes because the AI fixes the sentence structure, and it makes everything perfectly cohesive, if you will. All the thoughts come together properly, the sentences have the appropriate structure, and it was a huge enabler. And the same thing applies for doctors that are trying to very quickly speak to their patients. The AI will take time to write 3 paragraphs where the doctor will only take time to write the minimum amount that they need to say before they need to move on with the next task in their day. The doctor shouldn't need to write more. The doctor should need to use AI to make sure that all the communication that's best gets sent over to the patient. So there's this weird toss-up around, while you're getting trained as a professional, you should have to do stuff manually. But then by the time you get to being a professional, you're going to have AI everywhere. So it won't reflect the real world if universities and even schools don't start changing everything around. All the students have language calculators available to them. They all have the ability to craft well-worded sentences. Their applications, their essays all sound great all the time. So now we need something else that evaluates their ability to know something.
I watched a webinar recently by a surgeon was being interviewed, and he said he uses AI to assist him if a case is complex, to give the diagnosis. And then he'll take, because there's reams and reams of data to go through when it's a complex case, and the AI will sift through all of that and provide him with a diagnosis. He will then go back to the patient and double check and look further to see if that would be the right diagnosis. So he's using it as a tool, but he's staying in charge of the process. Next comment, Alexander Glusky. All university exams in the USSR were oral. I have taken them and I have given them. It might be the way of the future. I could teach professors how to do it. That's a follow-up from what we were talking about. Thank you, Alexander. Liz Blight, regarding the university essays/research, if people keep using what AI delivers, this reduces the amount of new, fresh information that gets onto the internet. Sorry, rather clunky question. It's not clunky at all, Liz. Yeah.
Just to comment on that, I generate new things with AI every day. So it's not so much repeating itself. I'm able to create novel content all the time with AI. So I realize that it might seem like it's pooling all from the same location and then just regurgitating it in a way, but I don't see it like that at all, because any of the applications that I've written or the question answers that I've structured with AI don't exist anywhere else. And then after I've made that and I submit it, now it exists. So I think it'll allow humans to create way more. For instance, I make art now with AI, and I can't make art with my hands. So now I'm creating all these images and I'm able to put them on the internet, and I'm able to express my imagination in a way that I could never do before. And that does contribute to the novelty of the internet, because as a non-creative, I'm now able to use AI as a conduit to creating something that I wasn't able to create before. And it is new. So I think it's the opposite. I think we'll actually get much more information on the internet because of AI. And that will actually equal even more information. And that's why we might need AI to sort it all out, because we're going to create so much information that it gets more overwhelming than it already is with this information age that we live in.
So that's a very positive note about AI.
Yes, absolutely.
Dave Smith, I will contact you about your comment. And then he says, Chris, what scenario would happen if 10 grant applicants used Chat AI for their applications and the granting organization was using Chat AI to evaluate the applications? So Chat AI evaluating Chat AI. Your thoughts?
It all comes down to who's best at prompting. Because if the people writing the applications are good at prompting, then the AI that checks those applications will know that, because the answer is more complete, more succinct, it's articulated better, the project makes more sense. So I feel like that is going to happen, absolutely, because if a company, put it this way, if you're a grantor, if you're a funder, and you used to get 200 applications, that was because those people had time to write. But now 500 people have time to write because ChatGPT. So now the funder gets 2 times the number of applications that they have to review. So now they're inclined to use AI as well to go through it to get to the better of them so that only the best ones are reviewed by humans. So in short, spend time prompting, and that's going to get better answers to come out. If somebody had the same prompt and they were at a different organization, then that same prompt might be able to create a very useful application for that other organization as well. So I think the secret weapon at a company now is somebody that's very good at prompt engineering. Because if you are, you can do anything. And that opens up a world to a small team of people, because now you can operate like you're a big team of people. Because if you had 3 or 4 prompt engineers on that team that were very good, the sky's the limit, everybody. You won't need more people. You just need prompt engineers that can pump out that work. That's a horse of a different color what we're talking about there, because I do have this idea that organizations will keep the team members they have who are digitally literate in the right way. They'll get rid of the ones that aren't because they're taking too long and they're not making enough money for the company. And then the company won't need more people to join because they're even more productive than they ever were without the AI. So we might encounter this scenario where the kids these days have fewer and fewer opportunities later because there's so much AI in an organization that that you might not be needed because they're already doing everything at such a high level. And that's definitely something. I realize like we're going beyond fear, but that's definitely an idea where if we become so productive internally that we don't need any other humans, then the company either has to grow in scale and start helping more and more people internationally, or they just stay that smaller company and do way more work and make way more money. And then we need more companies for other people to work at. And that is an issue. That's definitely a reality that we have to pay very close attention to, which is why OpenAI, just like another nugget of detail from a little while ago, they were doing a lot of research into universal basic income, because the company that invented ChatGPT recognizes we might have a use for universal basic income at a certain point. So we should understand how that's going to work when we get there. So they were actually committing some of their R&D into that kind of a thing, because this is a real idea that we have to think about.
So prompt engineering is a new lucrative profession.
If you want a 6-figure income, you could get it as a prompt engineer, except no universities offered courses yet in the right way. I mean, this is so new that maybe in September, some universities had pulled a course together over the summer. But like in reality, there's so few people, like we're talking about 1% of people are using this. So, and you might know about it, but that doesn't mean that you're using it. So I'm talking about people that are actually using these tools. It's like not a lot of people, even though ChatGPT was the fastest growing app in the world and it's got millions of users, but it doesn't mean that they're all high level users that actually understand what they're doing. So I digress. I'll leave that there, Kathleen.
Okay. I'm going to cut off the questions. I'll give you Dave Smith's 2 questions and then we'll stop. Dave Smith is saying, Chris, what are you using to create your art?
Oh, I am using ChatGPT, and I'm happy to show you a live demo right now. I'm going to close this down again. This is for the ChatGPT 4 people. This is only the paying customers have access to the image generation. But all I have to do is type into ChatGPT, please generate an image of an astronaut dancing on the moon with red shoes on. The earth should be in the background with half experiencing daytime and the other experiencing night. And then I typically fix my spelling and grammar if ever my AI tells me that I've done spelling and grammar mistakes. And then when I push that, now I wait for this, creating image. And what am I getting? I'm getting an image of an astronaut dancing on the moon with red shoes on. I said one. It'll figure out that it meant one, or on, sorry. And the earth should be in the background, half in the day, half at night. And I own that now, everybody. This is mine. You can't find this on Google Images. Here's the other thing that's important to know. If I copy this and then I make a new chat, and then I do the exact same prompt again, I'm not even going to fix the spelling mistake that I know is in there, you won't get the same image ever again. So it's like a one and done. It generates it pixel by pixel, and then I'll get a different, it'll still be a spaceman with red shoes in front of the earth, but it won't look like the other one exactly. It's just another version of that same thing. And I could do this 1,000 times and keep getting novel creations out of it. This is a $20 a month American subscription that I have for ChatGPT that makes it so that I can make an image of just about anything, except when it doesn't fit the guidelines of OpenAI. You could not make any kind of graphic image of any kind. If you were advertising your new horror movie and you wanted a bloody zombie, it won't make that bloody zombie. If you wanted a bikini model in the south of France on the beach, wouldn't generate that for you because it goes against the guidelines of what OpenAI has said is okay. But when it comes to make me a bunch of different colored ice cream cones with a solid color in the background all in a row, or make me a dancing astronaut, or make me an elephant with horns that's wearing a tutu and he's got a purple spandex onesie on. It'll make that, no question, in 5 seconds. As you saw, it takes about that much effort.
Okay, thank you. Last question from Dave Smith. Chris, do you know of AI being used for patent searches and applications?
I'm quite certain that there's something out there doing that, Dave. Do I know about it? I do not, sir. My apologies. I can't speak to that, but I would certainly think that somebody out there in the tech world sees there being a value in being able to just outsource the patent searches that can take a long time for a human to go through, whereas an AI can just crunch that task down into almost nothing in comparison. So I would expect that it exists, but I don't know an example to give you.
Well, Chris, I want to say thank you on behalf of Toronto Mensa. Your presentation and your handling of the questions shows that you have a vast expertise with this subject matter. And I know that most of the people here have learned a great deal. I certainly have learned a great deal today, and I've really enjoyed it. You're a very effective speaker and very knowledgeable. And I'd just like to let you know that as a sign of our appreciation, we will be sending you a small gift.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Kathleen. And once again, I just wanted to thank you and the Mensons that attended today and those that watched this recording later because they wanted some digital literacy value as well. I'm just very happy to be of service. If ever you wanted to tap into some more technology related things, don't forget about Tech Coaches, techcoaches.ca. We constantly are doing webinars to help people feel more comfortable and confident with technology. So thank you so very much, Kathleen. I appreciate you.
Okay, and thank you very much to our audience. Your nice big group of people, and your questions and comments have been really helpful to the whole discussion. So thank you for participating. Thank you for attending. Okay, so I'll say goodbye for now. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye, Kathleen. Thanks so much.
Bye, Chris. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.